Hello, everyone. I am Joe,
And TJ?
and we are the Schoolhouse 302. And this is our 302 Thoughts, which is a part of our One Thing series. We are thrilled about this episode because it's about how you, a school leader, can show more support tomorrow. So the idea is achieve greater success, show more support, but how can we do it right away? And I think people are feeling this, TJ. I feel like they need it. And so we were inspired to create it.
Yeah. And so what we did was we gathered the research that we knew about in this concept of support in schools. And what we provided you with is really two things: a voices model in our blog, and then also five key ideas from the research that support the concept of being supportive in schools and the things that you need to target. Let's talk a little bit about each of those, Joe. Why don't you hit the voices model first? Because that's where we're really going to get our information.
Absolutely. So, really, what this comes down to is listening. So, great leaders are listening leaders. And here's why that's important. A lot of leaders understand what's going on in their organization and they see what's going on. They may even get anecdotal information and may have a good idea how to move forward. We don't deny any of that. I pride myself in that, TJ. I know you pride yourself in that. That is having acuity, that's having good perception, that's having good awareness. However, once you're moving forward in direction, you can be going south and still miss the target. And so when we're talking about supporting people, it has to be very direct. So what we have offered is really a listening tour, an ability to connect with your folks and hear their voices. And that's why we called it Voices. We wanted this to go with teachers, with other personnel. So a lot of times we clump all staff as teachers. We purposely separated this because right now people are feeling a host of different things, but what the teacher may be feeling might be different what the guidance counselor is feeling. And that's why we wanted to put personnel in there, because then also, what about facilities? What about nutritional services? When we talk about school community, we have to remember all of those who serve the community. And if we're going to really listen, we got to hear from everyone. And then that third part of this triangle, which is critically important, is our students. We want to give them a voice. This has been a major push in many schools. So we implore you, how do you give them a voice? How do you set the stage for them to be comfortable to speak? What do you want them to talk about? You know, if you just put a kid in a room and say, hey, share with me how you're feeling, they're probably not going to, right? At least a lot of kids are going to feel standoffish. There's relationships needed there. But when we get into their lives about, hey, how's family life going, from someone they trust, respect, maybe even a wellness center. So think broadly about how do you engage in these conversations? But it's a very simple model: teachers, personnel, and students. But building that culture, TJ, is critical. And we don't want to fall into that trap of not building the right culture. So why don't you dig into a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and I think all five of these do apply to those three groups, right? The teachers, the personnel, and the students. But when we did research on what it means to have a supportive culture for both this blog and some previous works of ours, we were able to find five buckets that what people feel they need to be supportive in their work environment. So I'm going to talk about the five. I'm just going to be brief. You can get more on the blog post about this. We'll link it to the show notes. But the first is welcoming ideas and suggestions from everyone. We want to have a welcoming environment. It doesn't mean we're going to use the ideas and suggestions from everyone. We want to be clear about that, because sometimes we want to have this culture where the people who share ideas, we use their ideas, but that actually limits the culture in that we want to welcome everyone's ideas with the notion that we're not going to be able to use all of those ideas. The thing here is that we're curating the good ones, but we're getting them all. The second is feeling comfort to share difficult issues. People need to be able to come to the leaders and to the leadership with the issues that are going on in the school and know that something's going to be done about them, that we're not going to wipe it under the carpet or make it feel like it's okay. We are going to deal with difficult issues. We want to hear from them. Third is providing time and space to listen. Joe talked about the listening tour, listening models, but you need to build that strategically in. When are you going to do that? Who is going to be there when that happens? And how can everybody feel like there's time and space? The fourth is feeling like we're on a team. This starts with having core values. It starts with making sure the vision is clear. It starts with being purposeful around the intentions that we have as a school community and what we're trying to accomplish. That's what great teams have. And the last one, critical. And I think schools gloss over this one, Joe, which is ensuring people have the resources to do their jobs well. People need the technology, the resources, the setup, the tools to do their job well. And especially when teachers don't feel that they have those things, they feel like the environment is not supporting what we say we want from them. And that's just not fair. Here's the key. You got to ask about these 5 things. It's why we developed the rep survey, which we'll link to. It's in our Building a Winning Team book, but we're going to give it to you for free in the show notes. And it's why we built that survey, Joe. It's because it's so critical in terms of asking the culture. And this is the time of year to do it. If you're hearing this in April when it came out, it's the time of year to do it regardless. But if we're at the end of the school year for you, it's the time of year to take the pulse, to know what the people are thinking in terms of support. Any final words on that, Joe?
Absolutely. You just said something, TJ, I don't want people to miss. And that is, as we're rounding out the end of the school year, get the pulse. That is going to help people start next year. And I know not everybody sees it this way, but it is similar to like the 4x1 team on the track. That baton has to be passed off well. So the more information you gather now, you can use for your future self and pass that baton. And like you said, it's about listening. And I also want to make note, TJ, because you make a really profound point that I think not only leaders should know, but they need to express. Building an environment of dialogue and communication doesn't mean you accept every idea. Like you said, not every idea is a good idea. Not every thought has the same value. Actually, organizations that do that, like you said, they can fall apart. So what you want to do, though, is respect every idea. Let people know that they are appreciated, that their efforts, their work, and their thoughts are dignified by you listening to them. Then you curate the very best. But you won't even get to the very best if you don't have the culture which you described. So I think that's an important part because, we form these committees, we say we want your thoughts, and then you only got one, and then people are disgruntled. And next thing you know, people are like, well, I don't know why I served on the committee. I didn't even get to use my thoughts on this. So just be upfront about it. But your professional learning for next year, your focus for next year, you're getting that information now.
So important to the culture, folks. There you have it. Another 302 thoughts coming at you from the Schoolhouse 302. Don't forget to share, like, follow. We love the comments, questions right there on our blog at theschoolhouse302.com. Blog post, podcast, books to read, always on the topic of leadership to help you lead better and grow faster. We'll see you next time.